Yes, we can.
All right, Kayla, if you want to let students in and then take it away whenever you're ready.
Yeah, I'm going to. Good luck, no pressure. Okay, awesome. I'm gonna get started, everyone. First off, I'd like to thank everyone for joining us today, our panelists especially, but also our students. The way this is gonna go is that I'll give a brief explanation of our Learners and Leaders Conference today and our wonderful sponsor, and then we will get right into the questions. So, let's get started. So welcome everyone to the 46th annual MSVU Learners and Leaders Business and Tourism Conference. We are delighted that you're able to join us, and we would also like to thank our distinguished panelists for giving their time today to be here and share their wise advice and opinions. Before I introduce the panelists, I'd like to just take you a moment to tell us about our Learners and Leader Conference and our major sponsor, the Center for Women's in Business. The Department for Women's in Business the Department of Business and Tourism at MSVU has been hosting this conference for 46 years, as I mentioned. The name has changed many times, but the purpose has not. We seek to provide our students with the opportunity to bring classroom lessons to life by allowing our students to showcase their knowledge, skills, and diverse talents to local businesses and industry professionals who in turn will provide our students with invaluable insight into the world of business and tourism. This year will look a bit different than others as we can't meet face-to-face, but it does not make the conference any less valuable. Thank you to all who have come up today, and we hope you take away some knowledgeable information. And as I mentioned, the Center of Women in Business has been our longest supporter. The center is a leader in entrepreneurial growth and is the only university-based business development center for women in entrepreneurial growth in Canada. They are located on the 4th floor of McCain Center. You may have seen them there. And the team is led by Tanya Prisk, Executive Director, and a group of dedicated staff who offer skills, training, and resources to women entrepreneurs across the mainland of Nova Scotia and in all stages of business development. The center had opened in 1992, and next year will celebrate its 30th anniversary of providing unparalleled service to women entrepreneurs in all aspects of business ownership, from the business management training to the international trade missions. One final note, if students have any questions, feel free to type them in the chat box, and if we get time at the end, we'll ask our panelists your questions. Without further ado, I would like to introduce our panelists today, and I'm going to start with Nick Nunes. As the Director of Enterprise Social Media at BMO, Nick is responsible for developing, optimizing, and managing the delivery of BMO's enterprise social media strategy and leading global social media team. Over the course of his career, Nick has worked for some of Canada's largest and most notable organizations, including BMO, Bell Canada, and the Department of National Defence. Nick completed a master's degree in public relations at MSVU, a bachelor's degree in business administration at MSVU, the Advanced Social Media Strategy Program at Syracuse University, and the Workplace Mental Health Leadership Program at Queen's University, and the Executive Leadership Program at Cornell University. Quite a mouthful there. Next, I'll be introducing Dave Reynolds. Dave Reynolds is the founder and CEO of the Rumen 8 Group, a growth counseling firm located in Atlantic Canada. Dave has over 15 years of business development experience, ranging from launching and creating new products to refining sales strategies for professional service companies. The Rumen 8 Group's goal with every client is to be able to take them from where they are and to where they want to go at any stage of business. Dave has been recently working with clients on commercialization, market entities, succession planning, and growth on new revenue channels. Lastly, I'll introduce Brittany Thompson. Brittany has graduated from the Mount in 2012 with her Bachelor's of Business Administration with a concentration in economics. After successfully completing a co-op term with NTT Data Canada, Inc., she has returned full-time and has the opportunity to work with HR, finance, and delivery teams. Since 2016, Brittany held the role of business support partner of the account operations team, which supports over 20 United States public sectors and healthcare clients. And lastly, I'm going to introduce our other speaker, Kat Moaven. Prior to graduation, Kat has accepted an offer at Delta Hotels as their leadership development program chosen candidate. Having studied and worked in the operational side of the hotel industry for 7 years, she is eager to learn insatiates of the corporate sector. Kat accepted an offer from internationally renowned Canada group of boutique luxury hotels, spas, and restaurants known as Experience Old Montreal. Working closely with all the members of their sales teams, she was fortunate to gain an insight into revenue and yield management and the tough, stubborn skill of solicitation. My apologies. She was fortunate to gain much insight into revenue and yield. She grew up. Kat spent 6 months volunteering with a non-governmental organization in Colombia. Upon her return to Canada, she decided to, between the buyer and supplier side of tourism/hospitality field, keen to release in the opportunity of a new challenge, Kat joined Pure Entertainment Group as the director of their sales. So now I'll move forward into asking our panelists some of the questions that we thought up for you.
All right, Kayla, just before you begin, Kat, are you able to turn on your video? I can see that you're here. I just don't see you.
Yes, I thought you could. Sorry. Hello. Can you see? Wait.
Oh, there you are. Perfect. Thank you.
Awesome. So for our graduate panel today, we came up with a couple of questions. I'm going to ask you all individually the same question, and we'll see what you have to contribute. So for my first question, we would all love to know the program you're in and the year that you graduated from MSVU. I'm going to start with Brittany.
Thanks, Kayla. I did my bachelor's in business administration, and I actually have a concentration in economics, no major, no minor. I graduated in 2012. I did my first year at Acadia and transferred to the Mount after my first year.
Awesome.
Thank you.
So let's go on to Dave.
Yeah, I graduated in 2008 from the business development program with a focus on management.
Perfect. And Nick?
Well, I love the Mount so much that I came twice, back to back. So I did actually 2 business degrees. I did my bachelor in business administration, major marketing, minor management at the Mount, and then I actually stayed and went and did my master's in public relations from 2008 to 2010. So big fan.
And then for you, Kat, would you be able to tell us the program you're in and the year you graduated?
Yes, and I've just spilled apple juice on my laptop, so you're gonna have to bear with me. I graduated in 2010. I was a transfer student from the UK. I did the bachelor's program of tourism and hospitality management and graduated in 2010 through the practica route, not the co-op route. I don't know if the practica route is still there, but that's what I did.
Cool. So I'm going to go on to my second question, and I'm going to start with Dave. When you graduated, what path did you take to get to your first job and others after that?
So I've always kind of had a twisted path along the way. So I actually, when I graduated, I actually moved to the States. So I actually got a job that actually ended up in Iowa. So I was in West Des Moines. And then when I came back, I started a company. So that was really my transition. So it was actually a product I was working on when I was in university. And when I got back from the United States, we were kind of in this stage where we were having our first child, and I've had this business, we just never got off the ground. So I got into getting it funded. And actually it was funny where Peter Mumbercat had kind of said, geez, you should go on the TV show The Dragon's Den. So we went on the TV show The Dragon's Den, got funded, and partnered with Arlene and Brett. And then since after that show sold it, but that was initially just the first job to the first company. But yeah, lots of fun and twists and turns.
Yeah, it seems like a twist in your path there, and then you finally ended up where you're supposed to be. And how about you, Nick? Would you be able to tell us when you graduated what path you did to get to your first job and others after that?
Yeah, happy to. So I'm going to preface this by saying I hope no one experiences this path, but unfortunately, in today's day and age, you might. So after university, I love Nova Scotia. You probably all love Nova Scotia. Many of you on the call or the video chat probably do. You probably want to stay. So I tried that route, and I interviewed at actually over 30 employers. And let me tell you, I got second interviews, third interviews, no job offers. So after 6 months of that, which was a really tough period, I actually began applying to employers in the Toronto region and landed a one-year contract with Bell within 2 weeks.
Awesome. And then for Brittany, would you be able to take us away with what path it took for you to get to your first job and others after that?
Sure, thank you. So I did the cooperative education route. I don't know if I mentioned that in the first segment. And I did 2 out of 3 of my co-op positions were with NTT Data. It was a different company back then, but after graduation, the fall afterwards, they had some openings, and it kind of, since they knew me already through co-op, made a nice entryway. And I don't have a crazy path or anything. I've stayed with them for the last 8 years. They've been a fantastic employer. There's over 50,000 people there worldwide. So there's lots of room for opportunities throughout the company, and just staying with the one. So that's how I got there and where I'm at.
Yeah, it looked like an opportunity opened up for you and you took advantage. So I saw Kat get back in here, but I don't know if she's ready to answer another question.
Hi, I'm here. I'm on another device now. My laptop died.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No,
would you be able to answer our second question?
I didn't hear the second question.
Yeah.
Is it the second question that was on the sheet?
So I'll tell you right now. So we would love to know, when you graduated, what path did you take to get to your first job and any others after that?
Right. So during university, I took the Practica route. So I was working with Packram Hospitality, who owned Radisson Suites and a lot of properties around Nova Scotia and Canada. I had a job offer lined up with, I was quite aggressive in my search. I had a job offer with the Prince George Hotel. I don't know if it's still there. But then Delta Hotels came to visit the school, and they had a little quiz, and I had a job offer with them. So when I went with Delta, I was very impressed because I just kind of went with my gut, because I wanted to stay international. I wanted to stay at least national or international. So I refused the Prince George Hotel and went with Delta. And after Delta, as I think you said earlier, I moved on to Montreal. and worked with a boutique, family-owned but very large company called Antonopoulos Group, Experience Old Montreal. And after that, I switched from the supplier side to the buyer side. So now I work for a global travel agency called Pure Entertainment Group.
Nice, nice. So I'm gonna go straight into our third question here. And I'm gonna start with you, Nick. Thinking about your career path since graduation from MSVU, you can choose which time around. Has your degree from MSVU influenced your career to date?
Yeah, I would say I used lessons from both my business degree and my public relations degree probably every day. I mean, with my business degree in marketing and management, kind of gave me that educational foundation I needed to do things like build investment business cases and lead a team. With my master's in public relations, it gave me the ability to kind of determine what the bank should and should not post on our social channels, how to use our social channels to react from like a crisis management perspective, and to feed in actionable insights from a social listening perspective. So I would say everything I learned in my business degree, perhaps outside of the economics courses and the accounting courses, are applicable every single day. Oh, I think you're on mute, Kayla.
Oh, sorry, thank you. Awesome. So I'm gonna swing over to Dave. Would you be able to tell us from your career path since graduating from MSVU, how has your degree from MSVU influenced your career to date?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. So I was always, when I was going through the undergrad, was always, I'm not going to use this, I'm not going to use this, I'm not going to use this. And, come to find, leading a lot of teams, a lot of national teams, I always use it. There was always something I used. And I was actually surprised how often statistics came up. And actually, I taught at the Mount a couple of times. I taught sales management, and actually a lot of that stuff iterated into some of the sales teams that we're working with. So there's a lot of things, but it's interesting. There's a lot of knowledge that I still haven't used that's still applicable in that undergrad, but it's a matter of going out and finding opportunities to apply it. But you'd be blown away by the amount that you apply it when you get out to the real world and you start leading teams or growing individually as well.
No, yeah, even as a co-op student, we can definitely relate as we get a little bit of experience in that. So gonna swing over to you, Brittany. Would you be able to tell us about how your career path since graduating from MSVU has influenced your career today?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I wouldn't be here if it weren't for the Mount, for the co-op program, for the Business and Tourism Society. Kayla, I was in your shoes, I think in my first or second year and moderating a panel when one of my future employers at NTT Data first met me. And it wasn't until the next year that I locked down a co-op term with them. So it has everything to do for setting up, excuse me, my career, and all of the professional program has provided me with, has really set me up. So, and I echo what Dave and Nick said, that I do use, all of the various courses from stats and HR and operations. Now I'm on an account operations team. But my first 4 years looked a lot different, more in finance, et cetera. So the more you know, the more opportunities for sure. Thank you.
Oh, Kayla, you're back on mute again.
I'm sorry, guys. Kat, are you able to answer our next question here if you're free?
Yes, I'm sorry. I just I've been putting rice on my MacBook.
No worries, we understand. So my question to you is, how has your career path since graduating from MSVU influenced your career today?
Yeah, I was actually gonna, I believe it was Brittany who said it. I was gonna say that too. I didn't moderate. I don't think we had moderators back then. I think it was the staff who asked questions.
I was in your shoes as well. I think I introduced the careers, one of the careers weeks in a few languages. And it was actually funny because Peter remembered that, which was quite, it was quite nice. But I would say everything at the Mount, from being a TA and seeing people progress to the facility management course, which was one of the hardest courses I've done with Candace, to accounting, which I absolutely despised and was awful at and had to have tutors for. Everything has really come into play, and to have kind of like that insight into it now, you know, hindsight is 2020. I look back and think, you know, I didn't think this would be useful. I didn't think this would be useful. I would say even on the travel agent side, managing a team, a lot of the organizational behavior courses, things like that came into play. I would say the work experience a lot as well. It's kind of come full circle.
Oh yeah, I'm sure we can agree with that. So I'm gonna move on to our fourth question today. And I'm gonna go and start with you, Kat, again, if you're ready. Or I can give you a bit of a break.
That's fine.
Okay. So as students, we know we will look back and say, why didn't I do this or that? Or why didn't I do something another way? Are there any suggestions that you can give us to help us navigate the time that we do have in our university journey to ensure that we get the most out of our time at MSVU? For example, is there anything you would have done differently or anything that really helped you succeed as a student?
I can't see my notes on the laptop, so I'm just going to go off, you know, what I remember and just improvise here as well. I would say change the mind frame of saying that, you know, I wish I'd done this, I wish I'd done this. I would say don't be afraid of failure, fail again, and keep failing until you don't. I've been fired from a job before. You know, you don't highlight that kind of stuff when you're trying to speak about your achievements. I would say stay competitive, stay aggressive, but always have a balance. One of the graduates actually who turned out to be my boss's boss at Delta Hotels, Adam Bauer. I remember one time, you know, he said to me, you know, you need to have better time management skills, for example, because I really am a perfectionist. And I used to believe that there is such a thing as perfect. And then I started to realize that perfection means different things to different people. But that, in a way, I used it as a skill to bring me to what I am today. I cater, you know, we cater to ultra high net worth individuals, celebrities, political figures, for their travel and lifestyle needs. So that has worked for me, but at the same time, I had to learn the hard way, you know, time management skills. And I would say keep going and fight against yourself. The biggest competition you have is yourself, and keep failing until you win.
That's very motivational of you to say. I'll take advice on my own too. So I'm gonna swing over to Brittany. Sometimes we just have a mindset where we're like, why didn't we do this? Why didn't we do that? And for you, being a student from MSVU, is there anything that you would have done differently or something that helped you succeed as a student?
I would just say to the students listening today to take every opportunity you can. I mean, your professors, the admin team, they work so hard. The co-op team, they work so hard to provide these sorts of opportunities with you. Dave, Kat, Nick, and I can see your names on the list. So just take, you've got the world at your feet. So take those opportunities that the school is giving to you. I would say one thing I might have done differently is I know some of my classmates had strategized about their co-op terms, doing one in public sector, one in government, and then the next one, maybe small business or, you know, whatever kind of mix and match, so that you can find out what you like and what's a good fit for you. So I might have, if I had to say that, what would I have done differently? I might have diversified my opportunities with co-op, but I mean, obviously it worked out for me, but you never know. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you. No, yeah, me being a co-op student, I've heard that a bunch before, so it's great to still hear that message, because while I can myself, I'd like to dip my toes in different areas before I get out and have to make a for sure decision. So I'm gonna swing over to you, Dave. I didn't ask you yet, right? No. Would you be able to tell us something that you could have done differently as a student, or something that you did do that helped you succeed to where you wanted to be? Again, going back to how we always have that mindset of I didn't do this, or I wish I did this differently.
Yeah. So where we're in consulting, I ask clients a lot of the time, like, if you could go back in time, what would you do differently? We do that as a bit of a postmortem to project breakdowns, or we're looking at next phase of work. I wasn't a very good student, to be honest. I would probably reflect a little bit on probably I could have done a better job preparing for certain things, but some of the things that I did really well as a student that's really helped me is I was really good at networking. I was really good at building connections with people. But one thing that I would probably lean into more if I could go back and do it again was study communications at a high level, understand the psychology, because I almost avoided psychology as an elective, but you'd be so surprised how much decision making is based on a lot of the psychology pieces. So I probably would have tried to minor in that, because we're in a lot of like sales strategy, business strategy. There's a lot of really cool areas that I would have taken past. So when I was early in my undergrad, I went into ACE, which isn't around anymore. It's Advanced Canadian Entrepreneurship. If you can be involved anywhere in entrepreneurship, it's a really valuable opportunity. The reason is you can wear a lot of hats. And early in my career, I owned a couple of different businesses, sold a couple of businesses, and you get to be the finance person, you get to be the marketing person, you get to be the sales person. So you get to do a lot of different things. And the other part too is actually one of the professors actually connected me to a manufacturing facility we had in Hong Kong. So like the more that you ask people and ask good questions, the more you learn. And it's actually an old Chinese proverb that I use all the time with clients, is that to know the road ahead, ask those coming back. So always try and surround yourself with people that you aspire to work towards. So always be there to learn. So no matter what you're studying and anywhere in the mount, always ask questions. Questions always get you answers. But it's, they always say intelligence is knowing the answers, wisdom is asking the right questions. And honestly, that's probably one of the best things that I could advise is just be prepared, have fun, network, make connections, and you'll be blown away by 10 years after university how many of those people are vice presidents, CEOs, and they could be the people that you're sitting across the boardroom from. So I hope that answers it.
Yeah, that's a great answer. Thank you. Yeah, you never know who you're sitting next to and what they're going to be 10 years down the line. So I'm going to go to you, Nick. Would you be able to tell us something that you would have done differently as a student, or something that you did do that helped you succeed today?
Yeah, happy to. First, learn from Brittany's experience and switch to a co-op program if you can, especially folks, if you're aiming to stay in the Maritimes. Work experience is extremely vital in the Maritimes, and competition is stiff for entry-level jobs quite often, especially the really good ones. Network. I did the opposite of Dave and leaned in on the study piece, leaned in on, trying to get A+ for absolutely everything. And I did not do enough networking. Join every relevant industry event you can and come prepared. Meet and connect with folks at the employers you're hoping to work for specifically. Figure out where they're going and be there. And the last thing that I'll say that really actually helped me quite a bit is interview preparation. So the Mounds, and I don't know if they do that still, but I have to imagine they do. They have like an interview prep capability where they actually will put you with somebody who helps you with practice interviews and that kind of stuff. And trust me, this does not come naturally for most people. And then if you do get an interview and you practice really well, do extensive research about the company you're interviewing with, and ensure you're ready to reference everything you found within your research when you're interviewing, because I can't tell you how many times earlier in my career where I'd be interviewing for entry-level roles, and the candidates that would come in hadn't even looked at anything BMO was doing or Bella was doing at the time, and couldn't really reference anything related to the position that they were actually interviewing for. So that alone will get you a leg up over 75% of the people that are actually interviewed for a position.
Thank you, Nick. That's some great advice we can take with us, especially moving forward, looking for new job opportunities. And we just have Devin here, who is the Director of Analytics at Amica Senior Lifestyles. And I'll give you just a moment to introduce yourself. Devin, take it away.
Hi, everyone. Sorry about that. I'm about 15 minutes late. I had a meeting that ran long. So my name is Devin Woods. I'm the Director of Analytics at Amica Senior Lifestyles. And with the company, I lead our analytics, business intelligence, and operational and decision support functions. Happy to be here.
Hi, Devin.
Hi. Hey, Brittany. It's been a long time.
Thank you for joining us, Devin. So I'm going to move on to another question, and I'll let you, Devin, take it away, actually. We're always told in university to, well, through all of school, actually, to follow our passions. While in theory this is sound, how does this advice relate to the real world once we leave university in that type of environment? Is there an opportunity for us to do that? What do you think?
I think it really depends on what your passion is and how patient you are and how much you value, stability, whether it's financial or otherwise. It's been said before that, if you follow your passion, you'll never work a day in your life. And there is truth to this. But if your passion is, say, playing music and you follow your dream, there's a chance that maybe you'll make it big, but along the way, there could be a lot of uncertainty or potential financial hardship. I would never suggest that someone do something that, they're going to hate. You will get no professional satisfaction out of that. But I think it's helpful if you look at your job for what it is, a job. So when I left high school, I actually wanted to pursue a career as a writer. But I realized, that I valued money and stability quite highly. And my interest in writing could remain what it had always been before, and that's a hobby, sort of a creative outlet, something I do to unwind. You don't need to love what you do in order to feel professionally fulfilled and get satisfaction from your career. In my opinion, so long as you feel challenged in your job, every success will be satisfying in some way. Career-wise, the best I've ever felt is when I've been given something that I've been challenged with, or that I've never really had the opportunity to approach before. And a bit of self-doubt sets in. But if you push forward and complete it to the best of your ability, that's something you can kind of look back on and get a lot of satisfaction out of, even if it's not necessarily your passion. So if everything came easy, I think you become very bored quickly, but I don't think your career necessarily has to be your passion or your hobby.
Thank you, Devin. That was a very honest and realistic answer. And I agree with you. I think we can find some satisfaction and challenges that pushed us. Maybe some frustration too. So I'm going to go to you, Dave. How do you feel this advice to follow your passion works after university in a workplace environment?
Yeah. So all kinds of different stuff. I've probably only worked for a couple of companies, but I worked for a telco company for almost 10 years. And honestly, when I took the position, it was because I sold my company. I gave my phones back to the company. I went to the mall and I was talking to one of the telco companies, and next thing I knew, I was working for them. Never thought anything of it, but it really leaned into the parts of the business that I loved. You're not going to love everything. You just have to find what kind of gives you energy. But here's the thing, like when everybody's getting early on to their career, you're going to have to look at like, where's your motivation? Where do you want to get to? But I find too many people get caught up in title. and don't get caught in title. Look for the opportunities for growth. Look for the people that are going to support your growth. Like, is there a succession plan? You know, is there additional training you can take? So like all those different additional things, like, you know, I could hear like, you know, Nick's taking a lot of additional learning opportunities. Like, you know, I did a master's in project management. I did an MBA. I started a doctorate through an organization when I was there. So if those things are available, you can take the title and throw it out the window. It really doesn't matter. If the company's willing to invest in you, it's huge. So always ask those questions in the interview as you're going through, and you'll actually find it typically takes a couple of years to find your passion. So get experience and then think about where the passion's going to be. And now when I'm out running the business, it's what I love doing, but it's a lot of hard work. There's no like, you never work a day. Like I'm up at 5 o'clock in the morning every day. And if I go to work, I'm working into the evening, but I love what I'm doing. So if we think it's going to be easy, it might be the wrong mentality, but you'll definitely appreciate the long days.
Yeah, and like Devin said, sometimes easy things that you're passionate about, you just find boredom in those things as well. So Brittany, I'm gonna get you to add in something from yourself. How does this relate, in your opinion, to follow our passions in the real workplace life compared to a university environment?
Yeah, thanks, Kayla. Devin and Dave kind of mentioned it. You probably don't know what your passion is right now. So take all the opportunities you can, go for all the different jobs that you want, and then you'll be able to say, okay, well, I'm not passionate about this, or I'm not passionate about this, and then knock those off your list. And Devin mentioned something I think that's really important, is to know what you value. So what are your top 3 values? What are your top 3 skills? And then what are your top 3 favorite things in the world to do? So know yourself, and that will give you a little bit more guidance to follow your passion, but don't think that you need to do it day one coming out of school. So try those different jobs. You might find that you are like, oh, I don't like the sound of that, but you go for the opportunity and it becomes something that you're passionate about. So take the leap. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, you've all touched up on it. Sometimes we don't even know that different opportunities can open new passions. You won't know until you try it. So Nick, I'm gonna head over to you. Do you have any opinions on the term following your passion in a real life workplace compared to university? Anything you can add to that?
Yeah, so for me, I actually discovered my career in university. I'll talk a little bit about that. So many of you will remember that, or maybe many of you actually won't remember this. So let me give you 10 seconds on this. So Facebook actually opened to the public while I was in university. And I know that makes me sound so old. Let me give you a different one. Instagram actually just came out like 2 years after I was actually out of university. So all that to say, while I was in university, social media really started to hit the mainstream. And I knew right away there was going to be a ridiculous amount of business application to this. And I knew that I wanted to stay in business. I knew I wanted to stay kind of in marketing, and I knew that I had to pursue digital. So an exercise that I did that I'll offer to all of you is I kind of documented where my passions were and where my interests were. And then I researched professions related to those things. And I did kind of one of those circular graphs that you'll see where the circles overlap in certain places. And I found those intersection points. And that to me was kind of how I purpose built my education to support where I wanted to go for my career, right? Like I did the marketing, I did the management, I did the master's in public relations. Like I literally purpose built to get to where I'm at. The only thing that I would add beyond what I did specifically is right now, automation is going to be massive from a transitional perspective. So if you're going to look at charting your career, make sure you're going into things that aren't easily automated. You know, for example, like if you're going into marketing, HR, PR, your jobs are probably relatively safe. But if you're going into like accounting, lawyer, and that kind of stuff, research indicates large portions of those professions are actually going to be automated. So you'll want to focus, if that's your area, on areas within those professions that can't actually easily be automated.
Thank you, Nick. And Kat, do you have anything you can add to the question about following our passions after university, if there's a way to do that in a regular workplace environment?
Yes. First, I have to say, I just realized that Dave, you're Nick's brother. You look alike, and I remember seeing you on Drag the Zen. So I just want to say hi, you and Nick. Yeah, I would say to stay patient, stay adaptable. So I remember when I was at university and I was working in co-op and with my first job, I kept thinking, you know, my first paid job out of university, I was like, oh no, this isn't good enough. I would look at people who would speak at our conferences, or just my bosses, or just people on media, and say, I want to get there right away. And a friend of mine, who's actually still in Halifax, one of my best friends who lives down the street in Carney Road, I think that's what the name is. She was saying, you know, I don't know why everybody who comes out of university and is in such a rush to jump the steps right away. You have to pay your dues. So I would say to stay patient. Don't get too complacent, but I would say while you should explore every opportunity, go until you have your passion, but try to show on your resume that you have 2 years at a job on your resume. On a resume, if it looks like you're jumping between jobs too much, I would say if you really want to have a very strong resume, I would say stick to that, like, you know, in the 2 years. To go back to what Nick said about, I don't think I even answered the question of what I would do differently. Networking was something that I did because I remember seeing Nick in the library studying a lot all the time. And he probably did get A's and everything. And I had to study probably doubly as much to get those A's. But I remember Packham Hospitality was actually a job that I got. Glenn Squires, who's the owner of Packham Hospitality, spoke at our careers conference. And I was on him like a hawk. He was an old man. I went up to him. I asked for his number. I asked for his email address. I was just on it. I just wouldn't stop emailing him. And now the people that I see, you know, aggressively pushing me to do the same remind me of myself. If not, and I see it everywhere. You know, a thing that I heard in an interview, someone say, they said, you know, if it's not Pure Entertainment Group, it's nothing. And that's something that I've said kind of in different words to Glenn Squires. So, you know, I would say, stay passionate, but the gentleman who came a little later, sorry, I see his name, Devin, he did touch on it well. It doesn't have to be your passion, but you should stick it out to show that you know, at the end of the day, what does university show? It shows that you can start and finish something. You got that degree in the end, you didn't quit. So essentially a job is going to say the same thing. So I would say do that. I would say stick it out, and don't become too comfortable. Stay adaptable, and just keep on keeping on.
Thank you, Kat. Some excellent advice there we can take with us. Now, my next question kind of relates to what we've been talking about. You all mentioned a lot about networking. Do you have any advice for how students can connect with their professors, especially during a time of virtualness? And I'm gonna go to Nick.
Yeah, happy to answer this one. So engage in class for starters. Professors will absolutely notice you and pay more attention to you when you engage in class. Take advantage of virtual open office hours to pick your professor's brains where you can. There's a reason they have PhDs, right? They have PhDs, and in a lot of cases, 10, 20, 30 years of teaching experience, and probably some great working experience prior to that. They know what they're talking about. Pick their brains. They've been there and done that. I learned so much from professors like Peter Mumbercat, Karen Blotnicki, Sandy Finley Thompson. Yes, they were all there while I went to school. And, you know, when I was taking my PR degree, Wade Kenny's courses kind of really challenged me to consider like societal norms, communication patterns, really think in a different way.
Thank you, Nick. Yeah, participation is definitely something that I'm sure professors don't see very often, but I hope some classes get a lot of it. But it's hard to get that face-to-face connection with your professors. I can also see why it's a struggle to connect. So Dave, I'm going to swing over to you. Do you have anything to add to what advice you can give our students on how to connect with their professors virtually?
Yeah, virtually is a little different because I used to just jump into every office as a kid and try and pick their brains. Because you'd be so surprised at how connected the professors are into the community in a lot of different areas. And it could be the areas that you're either getting a job or you're kind of trying to navigate. I would always ask for their time, set an agenda, like have an idea of like, hey, I'm thinking about this, or this is kind of an area I'm trying to navigate. Don't always believe that that person's going to have the answers, but they might get you to somebody that does. That's why when I'm networking, I'll usually try and find the person that I know is the most people, and I'll say, who do you know I should know? And try and find a path for, you know, those people that you're going to talk to and going through it. But try and find out who's the expert in those areas that you're most passionate about. I used to bug Peter, and I still bug Peter all the time through different things, and he's been, you know, hugely resourceful. And I know when Dr. Bag was around, you know, he's no longer with us. He connected me to a guy that was our first plastic manufacturer who got us to Hong Kong. But I went in and asked the question. So if you're gonna think about going after one of the professors, think about what their history is, what their like expertise is, and then just pick their brain. But always set an agenda and then always follow up.
Some great advice there from you, Dave. I believe it was you or someone else mentioned that always ask questions, and that's kind of what you were touching up on there. Seemed to help you out. So I'm going to go over to you, Brittany. Would you be able to tell us any advice you can offer for students on how they can connect with their professors virtually?
Sure. I would say virtually take any opportunity to turn your camera on. It's my daughter. We're all in the same boat right now. I bet you half these moderators or half these panelists have track pants on the bottom like me and my slippers on.
It's the party on top. What is a party on the bottom?
Exactly. We're all in the same boat. So when you're in your classes and it's like your professor has their camera on, don't leave them out there hanging. Let them see you. If you've got, your hoodie on, we're all in the same boat. So at very minimum, when you're in small breakout group sessions, turn your camera on to make those connections with your peers at the very least. If that's all you're comfortable with, a group of 6, turn your cameras on there. Because this is life. We have to normalize dogs barking in the background, normalize kids at home. That's what the future looks like.
Thank you, Brittany. You're right. It doesn't feel normal to turn my camera on with a full class going on, but maybe sometime it will be normalized.
Yeah, you got it, Kayla. Be the leader. I'm doing some classes right now, and I'm the only one who's got their camera on. But they're gonna know me, and then they'll recognize me in the future. So so will your professors.
Therefore, we make our connections. So I'm going to go over to you, Kat. Do you have anything you can add to advice on making these connections with our professors as students while everything's so virtual right now?
Yeah, I would say that, first of all, I think all of us sitting on this panel are compassionate about what you guys are going through. It's a very different experience for you, whether this is how you started or if in the middle it transitioned for you. I remember when I was in university with Paulette and Elaine, those were the most interactive classes where we were cooking or opening and closing down a restaurant. And then that, for me, I did that at the Delta Hotels when I was in F&B. I was doing their leadership development training program. I guess that's different for you now because you're doing everything at home. I would say a lot of it is actually up to your professors as well. So if there are virtual office hours, if they're not, push them for it. I know that with our employees, like with my sales team and with our development team, I'm now in charge of marketing because we've had to let some people go. So you're in a way, we have a party group on another app where we completely socialize on that. It's not about working, it's about socializing, getting to know each other. In the same way that if I, sometimes ran into Candace or Elaine or Sandy, or we would talk about food, or we would talk about what they were doing that weekend, because that's, I think, what it means to connect on a personal level. Because then when you're learning from them, you're very much customize, you're getting to learn from the person instead of just words on paper and what they're teaching you. So I would say a lot of it is actually up to the professors as well, to guide you in that and to keep your mind very, in it. And I would say stay creative and try to find a way to socialize with them outside it. If it's for 15 minutes, every 2 weeks even, I would say that's very important. And things will come back to normal. They have to. You just have to stay at it, and things will, we're the human race. We're gonna do this.
Awesome, Kat. Thank you. Yeah, you're right. We do get some opportunities to socialize here at the Mount through our platforms that we participate on, but I'm not sure if it's utilized enough to create that comfortability. But anyways, I'm going to move on to our last question, and I would love if you each could think of some final advice you could give to our students about life or careers in general. You can personalize it to your opinion, and I will start with Devin when you're ready.
Kayla, in terms of career advice, we use a framework at Amica, and I'm sure it's something that's used across companies. Maybe the terminology may differ, but we evaluate team members' leadership potential using 3 things. Are they hungry? Are they humble? And are they people smart? The performance side of things, i.e. technical skills, can they get the job done? That's also vitally important, but you need to have a balance too. So, if I was talking to a would-be new grad, someone that's going to be starting their career soon, I would say, you have to be willing to take on new challenges and new opportunities. Don't shy away from a project just because you think that maybe you can't do it. I forget who said it, but they basically said, always say yes and then figure out how to do it after the fact. And I think, with enough drive, most of what we do out there is not rocket science. You can figure it out. Especially nowadays with the amount of self-study materials that we have, you can figure it out. There's probably a YouTube video that will explain it really well. Second component is being humble. I'm thinking back to the last question, and, in connecting with your profs, it's similar to connecting with your bosses at work, right? People want to work with individuals that are humble, but also are self-confident, right? And so part of that is just checking your ego at the door, admitting to mistakes and learning from them really quickly. And then the final one is sort of, I guess, part and parcel with that, the people smart. There's going to be individuals throughout your career that you're going to deal with that are going to rub you the wrong way. They're going to get on your nerves. You may think that they're incompetent, but at the end of the day, you're going to have to work with them in some capacity to get the job done. And I received really good advice from my boss a few years ago, and he said, early on in your career, being successful is about basically everything that you touch turns to gold. As you get further and further in your career and you take more leadership roles, from manager, director, on the way up to the C-suite, it becomes about when you move into a project, even just ancillary. So maybe you're just a collaborator, but you're able to influence others so that their work product turns to gold. That's when you are seen as being a true motivator and a true performer. So that would be my advice to new students. Just keep those in mind.
Thank you, Devin. And now I'm gonna move on to Nick. Would you be able to take us away with any final advice you want to give to students about life or just careers in general?
Yeah, happy to. The number one thing I would say is as you get into the workforce, you'll realize there are things that you don't know. I would say I've encountered two frameworks of mind on that. One is I'm going to learn it over time / the job should teach it to me. And the other part is going after and getting that knowledge, never stopping to learn, always trying to accelerate your learning and career development. So these days you have Coursera, you have things that are super, super affordable, whether it's Coursera, Udemy, you name it. So never stop learning if you want to be ahead of the curve. The last piece of advice I'll give you is if you land yourself in a position like I did, where you are struggling to find a job, it's not the end of the world if you have to move physical locations, if you don't land your dream job. If you can chase your dreams and your dream job, do it. It's going to be scary. It's going to be frightening, but it's probably going to be worth it. And if you know that you have a physical location in mind, whether that's Halifax or otherwise, that you want to land in, you're going to have a way better time, way easier time doing so when you have good work experience under your belt and leverage that comes with that of holding a job and being able to wait for your perfect re-entry point.
Thank you, Nick. Okay, good. So it's worth the wait is what you're saying. So I'm gonna swing over to Brittany here. Would you be able to give us your final advice to students about life or careers in general?
Sure. So I said this to the group a couple years ago, but take yourself seriously. The Mount has such a wonderful reputation of professional, mature students, and NSCC, if there's anyone from NSCC here today. And sometimes it can be hard, especially during the practicum or co-op terms, where you're bouncing back and forth between a student identity and a professional identity. But right off the bat, I can tell you right now, you're all professionals. And I just want to wish you all the best of luck in your careers, because you have such a fantastic foundation. So don't take yourself seriously in a negative way, but know that already coming from the Mount, you guys have a great, or you folks have a great reputation that precedes you. And I know we all loved our time there. So you've got it. Thank you.
Thank you, Brittany. And lastly, Kat, would you be able to offer some advice to our students on life or just careers in general, your own personal advice?
Yes, of course. I would say in these times, it's hard to keep a schedule, but try. It's very easy. I mean, right now, yes, I am wearing sweatpants, as Brittany said, but every day I find it very easy to get out of schedule. So I try to have a regimen. Every day I have to have lemon water. If I don't, I put something else in it just because in my mind I have to have that. But at the same time, keep a balance. You're gonna have clients who don't like you. You're gonna have clients who love you. Always look on the bright side. Don't take things personally. You're gonna work at hotels, or you're gonna work at travel agencies or restaurants or tour operators, and people, you might cry or you might laugh. Don't take it personally. Take it as a lesson. Always stay genuine. Work really hard. It does pay off. Saying something I would do differently, sometimes I would have worked harder, because now I know the value of hard work. But I would say I worked as hard as I could. I don't have any regrets. That taught me that, not, sometimes not taking it seriously and wanting to study more than I wanted to work, or wanting to have fun more than I wanted to work. It's okay to shut down sometimes. You need to recalibrate. You need to, give your body a rest, because it will make you better for that exam the next day. I remember sometimes I wouldn't sleep before an exam to the point that I would be sick. The Finance 2 exam was so hard. I remember Anne McGilvery had to curve it because we all came out kind of in tears. And I had extreme diarrhea. Like, I'm sorry to overshare, but I was so sick because I'd made myself that sick. It wasn't because the exam was hard, but it was hard for everyone. So try to keep a balance, get your sleep, get your rest, and work hard. I was one of those mature students. I transferred. There's nothing wrong with that. Or if you're too young, also there's nothing wrong with that. in work, you're gonna work with older people that you're gonna have to let go of sometimes. You're gonna have to be the boss of. That's gonna be tough. There's gonna be younger people who don't want to listen to you. But stay adaptable. Every day is gonna, in this industry, the fun thing about it is that we're people's people. You have to be a people's person to be in this industry. So you're gonna have to be very adaptable. You know, my computer had rice in it, but I've turned it on and I'm now on a, you know, I'm speaking to you guys and doing something else there. You're going to have something, one day you might not have a chef in the hotel. Housekeeping or the GM might have to cook. You know, a client, you know, might want an artist in their room today from our company, but they might want a birthday message from Madonna that we have to work on. You know, it's everything can change so drastically, or we might lose it altogether. You know, the industry is tanking right now. So, you know, but you have to stay adaptable. I would say just stay balanced, but stay, you know, with the waves. Just keep riding the wave.
Thank you, Kat. Yeah, we know adaptability is definitely a useful skill.
And listen to your professors. They really do know what they're talking about. Brittany's right on that. You're going to come out of the mount feeling very proud.
Perfect. Thank you, Kat. And I almost forgot Dave here. Would you be able to give your 2 cents for any advice you can give to students just about life or their careers in general? Take it away.
Yeah, so I've got a couple here that I think will be applicable, and a couple have kind of already been said. Just kind of maybe put them in a different frame. I always use this quote. I've always used it with sales teams. I always use it with companies. Is that good, better, best? Never let it rest until your good is better and your better is best. And the idea is that's how you're going to progress after school. Is that, you know, potential's endless. Potential is an opportunity. And you got to continue to keep growing as you're going through. And there was kind of a mantra I always went through as I went past university was consistency, discipline, and standards. Is that you can't have consistency without discipline, you can't have discipline without standards, and those things need to kind of like cohabitate. The other part too is that I always draw a line down the center of a whiteboard when we're working with clients, and I always say there's plants and there's seeds. People always go for plants because they can see when they need to be watered. So many times we plant seeds, we nurture them, we don't see them grow, we get rid of them. But here's the thing, seeds grow under the ground first. They have to establish roots and then they'll break through the surface. We give up too early. Stick to the idea that you got to be disciplined and stick in there. You'll find there's a lot of times where you think things aren't going to work. And we see this in sales all the time. It typically takes 90 days to get a result. Not everybody's willing to stick into doing something if they don't see a result in the first, some people like hour. You know, like you've got to stick in and do things. So you've got to kind of really be very, very focused on kind of where you want to be. But when you get out of university, build a network. I can tell you there's so much power in network. And a saying that we talk about a lot is that network is net worth. Is you see a lot of people that have these massive networks, and that's really where they've been so successful. So get out and really identify with an audience that you want to be. Find a mentor. Always have a mentor. And always be aware of the people that you're surround yourself with. Like, surround yourself with successful people. And another part too is always try and find ways to improve your communication skills, your presentation skills. That is going to be essential, I would say, in every position. And we work with people that have been doing it for a long time. And we go through the activity of what do you do? How do you do it? And who do you do it for? And very few people can do that in a simple manner. Like, keep it simple. So everybody should know what you do and how you do it. Man, there's just so many good things. And here's another thing too, is read. Like, read after university. Most people don't read after university. And they always say knowledge is power. And like, honestly, it's not true. Is applied knowledge is power. And if you're gonna like go out, like read stuff, like apply stuff. But you know, the whole idea is there's so many things you're gonna learn in university, but it's up to you to apply it. And there's a lot of things that we have to prepare for clients that we got to do a lot of research, and we've got to be able to drive and apply it. So I know that's like drinking through a fire hose, but if anybody ever wants to ask questions or bounce something off, I mean, this is what we do with CEOs, business owners, but people at university level, we would love to, you know, host a hackathon or do something like that where we just get like the craziest challenge or things you're thinking about. just go follow us on our website or on LinkedIn. We're super active there. And any questions you have, please follow us, check us out.
Awesome. Thanks, Dave. That was a great mental image of the whole seed and plant thing. I haven't heard that explained before. So my final question for everyone, and this is a student question, I'm also interested myself. We would all like to know what your favorite MSVU memory was. I'm gonna start with Brittany.
There were so many, I don't know how to choose. I'd probably say this event. I love it. I love coming back year after year. I know Devin and I had a ton of fun during our years helping plan and partake in this conference. So it was a huge part of the memories that I have at the Mount.
The after party was always fun too.
Oh yeah, that too.
Awesome. Yeah, it must be nice to see something that you've monitored or similar like to before and then participate in it later on. That's so exciting. And then Kat, would you be able to tell us your favorite MSVU memory?
I mean, I used to love going to where the nuns I used to love doing very naughty things there as well. I just like going and exploring. But I would say the connection I had with the staff to this day, it's really nice even on social media now to see, you know, how their life progresses when they have grandchildren or, you know, some of them have reached out to me privately on this, you know, this event itself, Brittany's right. I would say, what else? Halifax, being where you are, the view, the fact that I didn't have to exercise because just walking up and oh no, sorry, you're not doing that right now. Just the hills themselves.
This is your favorite MSVU memory, so it can be from whatever time.
Yeah, and I remember the PR students. I was always in sweatpants and just I would wear the same thing sometimes for a week. I would forget to shower. But I remember the PR students always had high heels on, and I was like, they're going up and down in these heels, and now kind of working with our PR, I understand why. You know, it's about image, and yeah. So I would say that, and just the connection and the small town feel of it. It's still big enough that you know you have that. You know, it's a world-renowned university, but it's still very niche. It's a very niche market, and some of my biggest dreams were born there. So that would be my favorite thing.
Amazing, thank you, Kat. You're right. There's lots of places to adventure here. We're at an amazing location where the Mount was picked to be. And Nick, would you be able to share your favorite MSVU memory?
Yeah, I'm going to give you three. The first one will be less professional. Frosh Week was fantastic. I used to be a Frosh leader for a couple of years, and awesome time. This event, largely because it's coming full circle for me. I remember attending similar events as a student and just thinking, wow, I can't wait to get out there and climb the chain, and I hope I make it. And then my third thing is, and I think some of the professors are probably actually on this video conference, I remember being terrified to approach my professors for references and to try to leverage their contacts to get a job or to introduce me to the various different employers that I was interviewing with that I know they had connections with. So terrifying, but the secret here is if your professors see that you're making an effort, in a lot of cases, they're more than willing to do what you're asking for. They're there to help.
Thank you, Nick. And Dave, would you be able to share your favorite MSVU memory?
Yeah, you know what? I loved a lot of the entrepreneurial stuff. Peter did a lot of great job running some entrepreneurial programs. you know what, I would say just the social aspect. I think it's what everybody's sharing is like finding a balance between meeting a lot of great people and building some relationships, and also capturing some knowledge along the way that's applicable. I mean, the Link was always a great time. You know, Vinny's, I don't know if that's still a bar there or whatever. That was a good watering hole. And you know what, it was just nice. You know what, there's great people from all over the world that you know, we got to build relationships with. I think that's and the teachers in the small classes, I think just what stood out to me is that you got to have a better relationship with your professors than a lot of other universities I've attended.
Thank you. Yeah, you're not off base there. That's definitely something everyone talks about. Vinny's isn't very active right now, as you can imagine, but it's still here. And Devin, can you attest to your favorite MSVU memory for us?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many. You know, I'm just going to echo what Brittany said. You know, the Business and Tourism Conference was always a great time. Like I said, the after party at Vinny's was a great opportunity to, you know, meet and get to know your professors, you know, sort of informally, maybe over a drink. But I'm actually going to take this in a slightly different direction. One of the most impactful moments that I had at MSVU was myself and a partner at the time had decided that we wanted to bolster our resume and compete in one of the business case competitions that were being hosted by St. Mary's University. And I don't think the Mount had put forward a team to compete in that event in quite some years. SMU at the time actually had a class devoted to case studies. We went in, we were underprepared, but likely way too overconfident. They gave us the case study. We spent 24 hours. We didn't even sleep, got up the next morning, went in, and we were talking to the other teams and they're like, yeah, we knocked it out in about 3 to 4 hours and we had a good night's sleep and they were ready to go. They had tons of energy. It's like what Kat was saying before, like the human mind needs sleep in order to function correctly. And myself and this person, and Brittany would know this person, still talk about it to this day because I never felt more vulnerable or more stupid than when I stood in front of that auditorium with individuals from the finance team at Sobeys, some of the biggest accounting firms, and proceeded to completely forget everything that we had rehearsed. And my partner in crime, exact same thing. We were like a deer in the headlights. And I remember walking away and just feeling like we completely let the university down. We felt terrible. But years later, what we realized, because we ended up going back and competing again in a few other ones, was we never wanted to let that happen again. So it was a great opportunity to learn what we did wrong. And it was motivation to never be standing up in front of a group of your peers, as well as individuals that, you know, you hope to one day maybe work for, and completely just crap the bed, essentially, which is what we did. So it was an awesome learning opportunity. It wasn't a fond memory, but it was an impactful memory.
And you know what, Devin? I'll always admire you for that courage.
Thank you, Devin. You hear that, everyone? Take care of yourselves. So I believe that wraps up our time here. I'd like to thank all our panelists for giving their time today. We really appreciate it. We're so happy to hear everything you had to offer. And thank you, students, for tuning in for our graduate panel of 2021. And that ends our Zoom meeting.
Amazing. Thanks for everything. Take care.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much. Everyone, feel free to reach out on LinkedIn and social media.
That was my granddaughter.
Nick, Kat, Dave, it was nice to meet you.
You too.
Nice meeting everyone.
Your daughter's lovely.
Thanks.
So proud of our grads.
You guys did awesome.
Yay.